Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Crowd Chatter Podcast. Today is going to be a video on the AFC East. I did the NFC and AFC South just a moment ago, and now I was going to take care of the AFC East. So let's get this going. We'll start with the Buffalo Bills. Shortly, we'll probably have our Week 1 picks coming up. So I'd keep an eye out for that. We'll probably have that upload either today or tomorrow. Depends on when I'm able to actually get to it. But so let's look at the Buffalo Bills here. Their free agent signings were mostly pretty boring. I mean, they signed Matt Barkley and traded for Case Keenum, giving the Browns a 2022 seventh rounder. Got Duke Johnson on a 1 year deal along with Jamison Crowder. They gave Diggs a big time extension, obviously. Makes sense there, considering how good Stephon Diggs is and has been for them. You got OJ Howard. And, they've signed some other really good players to this team. Obviously, Devon Miller signing very much stands out uh, from the really the rest. But this is a very good Buffalo team. Obviously, probably the favorites to win this division. And then you look at their draft class, starting with corner Kier Elam out of Florida, and then Dalvin Cook's younger brother, James Cook, running back from Georgia. I think that'll be that's going to be an interesting pick for Buffalo. It'll be interesting to see how James Cook fits into Buffalo's offense if he does at all. Obviously, Devin Singletary is the number one running back over in Buffalo, and Buffalo is a all passing team with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. But maybe with James Cook in town, maybe he makes a difference. And I don't know about Devin Singletary, but maybe Dalvin Cook's younger brother can bring some life to the dormant Buffalo running game. You got Terrell Bernard, a linebacker from Baylor, and then you have Matt Ariza has since been released because of obviously allegations of sexual assault with a 17-year-old girl, I think. But really, this Buffalo team is very good. I think it's disappointing that they have to lose out on Matt Ariza, but this is a really good Buffalo team, and likely is going to be a team who probably wins this division. We'll see if the other two, of which we're going to go over first, can maybe get lucky. But I think Buffalo is probably your team going to win this division and take the AFC East home. Very good team, very lethal team. Might even end up being the number one team in the AFC East. Next, we have the Miami Dolphins, who have had a roller coaster of a season this year between moving of coaches and getting a lot of different players in as well. A lot of movement for Miami and a lot to keep up with. But their first signing was Teddy Bridgewater to a 1 year deal. Obviously, a lot of people are not satisfied with Tua Tagovailoa. Has not played all that well for Miami, so they bring in Teddy Bridgewater as a veteran to possibly take over should they need him to. Obviously, he's there to push Tua to his limit. And then at running back, you have Chase Edmonds, Sony Michel, and Raheem Mostert. Sony Michel has since been released to this point, so he is no longer with the Dolphins. It is simply just Edmonds and Mostert now. Mostert obviously was really good for the 49ers. Chase Edmonds comes from Arizona, and they also still have Myles Gaskin. So really crowded running back room there. We'll see how it all pans out in the end. Of course, their big move in the offseason was trading for Tyreek Hill. giving the Chiefs a first, second, two fourths, and a sixth rounder to get Tyreek Hill from Kansas City. Big move there for the Dolphins, trying to improve that receiving core after trading away Devontae Parker over to the Patriots this year, as well as and also having, of course, Jalen Waddle, so adding another receiver. Also signed Mohamed Sanu, Preston Williams, and Trent Sherfield, along with Cedric Wilson from the Cowboys, another good wide receiver. So really, when you're looking at the receiving core has the top three of Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Cedric Wilson, of which Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are ridiculously fast. And they, of course, also have Mike Gesicki at tight end. So this is a good team. And they also signed Taron Armstead and Connor Williams to beef up that offensive line that's had some issues. Ogba also signed with the Dolphins. So they went out and they went big for a bunch of free agents. They're trying to beef up that team and instill some life into that receiving core and team for the Dolphins, trying to push for the playoffs. Their first draft pick wasn't until the third round. They only had 4 draft picks, but their top pick was Channing Tindall, a linebacker from Georgia. Then they had a wide receiver from Texas Tech, and their last pick, I actually know, Skylar Thompson, Kansas State quarterback, decent player. This Miami team went big, sold its future, sold its draft this year, trying to get Tyreek Hill, and is trying to surround Tua with options. They are trying to make Tua work, to make Tua time happen, and I think this is it. If Tua does not, I don't think this is it. This is it for him. If he does not play well this year and Tua still struggles, he is done. The Dolphins will get rid of him, and he won't be the starter. This is his last chance to prove that he can actually be the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. I think it's possible. I mean, he's a good QB. I mean, obviously we have Tyreek Hill raving about how good Tua is, and even saying that he's gone as far as to say Tua is more accurate than Patrick Mahomes. I mean, take it as you will, but Tyreek Hill seems to love him. I don't think many of the fans will, but we'll see how it goes. But certainly, with all the options that Miami has now, he should be significantly better. And if he doesn't, well, then it's pretty obvious that the guy is a major league failure. Next up, we have the New England Patriots, who made it to the wild card last year, only to get demolished by their arch nemesis, the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, post Brady era has not necessarily treated them all too well, and so now we go in the post Brady era. Of course, Mac Jones at QB, solid player. Mac Jones, a very good player. Brian Hoyer, they signed as the backup quarterback in New England. Who cares? And then they traded away, actually, Jarrett Stidham. That was their other quarterback as a backup. So Brian Hoyer, I think, is probably the guy now. Ty Montgomery, James White, both are signing with the team. Jordan Humphrey, Devontae Parker, of course, as I said, in the trade. They acquired him from the Miami Dolphins. A couple trades this year by New England. Trade away Shaq Mason, trade away N'Keal Harry to the Bears. And they also trade away, as I just mentioned, Jarrett Stidham to the Raiders. So a lot of different trades going out for New England. Obviously, none of them big ones. This was probably the big-er one here. As they traded for Devontae Parker, giving away a third-round pick for him. So we'll see how he fits in with New England. Trent Brown coming to New England. They did not necessarily spend nearly as much money as they did last year, did New England. Got Mac Wilson in a trade for Chase Winovich. But this New England team last year, I mean, it spent a ridiculous amount of cash on players and just spending literally all their life savings on free agents. And I mean, again, get them to the. It did get them to the wild card, but they absolutely dumped money on anybody and everybody they could find. I mean, John Smith, Hunter Henry, Kendrick Bourne. I think they gave like 10 million or something like that a year. It's just they threw money at literally every single person they could find and just signed them, good or bad. They signed the entire basically free agent market last year. This year, not nearly as busy, but definitely. I mean, this is still a solid team. I think their ceiling still though is at maybe a wild card appearance, and then you have the draft of which Bill Belichick is incredibly infamous for making some weird selections. And speaking of weird and strange, we have Cole Strange with the most ironic fitting name as the first round pick out of Tennessee, good old Chattanooga guard. He's infamous for obviously, like I said, making draft picks that to many people that seem like, yeah, you could have gotten that guy like however many picks later. Why did you pick him here? Or Tyquan Thornton, a wide receiver from Baylor. I think he's actually hurt now, but Tyquan Thornton, I mean, tiny wide receiver, obviously a big speedy guy, but a lot of people thought again, you didn't need to take him that early. You could have taken him way after that, but you know, we are not Bill Belichick, so we don't know what goes on in that man's mind. And then they also drafted both Marcus Jones and Jack Jones. That's funny. Corners from Houston, Arizona State, respectively. Got running back from South Dakota State, and they did draft Bailey Zape, the Western Kentucky QB. So he probably will be the backup for Mac Jones now. And of course, a lot of later draft picks and 6th and 7th rounders. Overall, the New England Patriots are decent. Post Brady era is not necessarily isn't necessarily, I'd say, going smoothly, but it's going smoothly enough. They have not gotten back to the Super Bowl, but in terms of just overall play, I mean, the first year didn't go well, but the next year they're back in the wild card. So, you know, I think for New England, they're doing probably better than they would have expected in terms of performance now that Brady has left for Tampa Bay. All right, and now moving on to the last team in the AFC East, we have the New York Jets. Now, the Jets, we'll get to their draft class, but they absolutely killed it in terms of their draft class. They could not have done any better with the guys that they got. Unbelievable draft for the Jets. But we'll start with their free agents. As we have Joe Flacco re-signing along with Mike White. Obviously, I think it's going to be Mike White now as the starter, or Joe Flacco. I don't know who's going to be the guy. But of course, now with Zach Wilson out for the first few weeks of the year, it'll probably be one of these two. Don't know which one. I think it's supposed to be Mike White, but Wacko Flacco might end up getting the gig anyway. And then you have Tevin Coleman, who re-signed as a running back with Braxton Berrios and Tyler Conklin, along with C.J. Uzama, also joining the team. C.J. Uzama, big player there. Dwan Brown, signing on 2 years, good tackle there. Dan Feeney, good tackle. Laken Tomlinson, another good tackle. I don't know why it has Dan Feeney twice. Nathan Shepard. And then there's Solomon Thomas. That's a good D lineman. Quan Alexander's a good linebacker. Jordan Whitehead, solid safety. Marcus Joyner, not a bad player. So, and Craig Zerline. But this is a solid team. DJ Reed's good too. Solid team here. A lot of good signings. And, obviously this is a rebuilding Jet team. But this is a team that really did a fantastic job in the draft too. As a number 4 took Ahmad Sauce Gardner, or I think it's just Ahmad Gardner, but everyone says Ahmad Sauce Gardner. Corner from Cincinnati, obviously fantastic season. Then you had at number 10, Garrett Wilson, good wide receiver out of Ohio State, along with, of course, Chris Olave and I guess technically Jamison Williams because he transferred from Ohio State. And then that pick 28, 26, since nobody was taking them, they traded up to go get Jermaine Johnson, a defensive end out of Florida State. A lot of people thought he would be a top 10 pick. He ended up falling all the way at 26 before the Jets finally said, okay, we're not waiting anymore. And they traded up to go get him. Fantastic job by the Jets to go and get that man before someone else took him. And then Breece Hall was taken as a running back early in the second round. Obviously, I mean Tevin Coleman is a okay running back, but Breece Hall now comes in. Michael Carter's probably not going to be the guy this year, but Breece Hall comes in, good running back there. The Jets are certainly getting significantly better, I think, this year. Jeremy Ruckert comes in as another draft pick at tight end, along with Max Mitchell and Michael Clemens, tackles and defensive ends from Louisiana, from UL Lafayette, Louisiana, same difference, and Texas A&M. But this Jet team did a fantastic job in the draft, and their free agency looks pretty darn good. So I think this Jet team, I mean, it's good. I think the AFC East is quite underrated. I mean, honestly, the Jets could completely flop. I mean, that's entirely possible too. But this is a good team. I mean, they have a lot of good players. They have drafted a lot of good guys. I mean, this year, just three first round picks and Gardner Wilson and Jermaine Johnson, and even at wide receiver, you got Garrett Wilson to pair with everyone being high on Elijah Moore. And of course, you insert Breece Hall in that running back. Garrett Wilson's opposite of Elijah Moore. And then you got Corey Davis also at wide receiver, another solid player, former first round pick there. So, I mean, the Jets have a lot of untapped potential. I mean, this is a total team. This is a team that is completely young, starting over, obviously, the rebuild. But this is a young team that has a lot of potential. And, I mean, they could break through this year. They could break through next year. We'll have to see. But this is a Jet team that is certainly growing. And who knows? But with all the young guys that they keep getting in massive amounts of potential, we could see the Jets having some good years before you know it. Anyway, that is all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Up next will be the NFC East, or shall I say the NFC Least, because that seems to be the case every single year for that division. Anyways, that's it for me. Until next time, adios, everyone.